Hello world and welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome! I'm nikkirenae and today I'm reading a book I have only just recently found out about through Netflix but quickly became obsessed with and super excited to get to, which is Geek Girl by Smale. Like I said, I learned about this book through Netflix and actually I binged the first season in one day. It is 10 episodes, all half an hour long, and I continued to watch and rewatch that first season so many times in just a few days. I think I've watched it like 8 times now, and I was so excited because actually right around the time when I first started watching this and rewatching was when Junie and I were moving back home. The second season had not been approved yet, and I did not think it was going to get a second season because usually if Netflix doesn't say pretty quickly that it will get a second installment, it's not gonna happen. And it had almost been a year because season 1 came out last summer. And then, out of nowhere, it got renewed for a second season. So I'm so excited. I actually even have the other books here in packages to be opened. And I'm so excited. This series has 6 books in total. What is Geek Girl about? Well, it's about a girl that's a geek, but it is also a lot of other things, and I'm so excited for this, especially for the representation in the worlds that it opens. Geek Girl is about Harriet Manners, who is a geek and a girl, and maybe also becoming a supermodel. And then another thing that I don't know how exactly forward it will be in the story is that Harriet is autistic. Meet Harriet Manners. Girl, geek, international supermodel. Harriet Manners is a geek. As if the Oxford English Dictionary on her nightstand isn't enough of a clue, there's also the fact that no one appreciates her extensive trivia knowledge and the way her nemesis, Alexa, mocks her at school. So when Harriet is discovered by a modeling agency, she leaps at the chance to reinvent herself. Harriet isn't sure she'll ever learn to navigate the terrifying world of high fashion, at least not without falling off a runway and embarrassing herself in front of her gorgeous new co-star, Nick. But, ready or not, Harriet is about to learn whether she has what it takes to transform from geek to chic. This is a young adult novel. It does have a little bit of romance, like it said, and it is 362 pages with 74 chapters. The chapters are very, very short. So now I'm going to go start reading. One of the things that I really like about the show is that it's very dynamic. There's a lot of things going on. It's not just the modeling world, it's not just Harriet. There's things going on with all the characters and other things going on in the plot, and I really, really like that. One of the things is Harriet's relationship with her best friend Nat, and in the show my feelings on her are a little bit iffy. I think that's done on purpose. It's just she's a little much. Nat really wants to be a model and it just doesn't really work out for her, but obviously it works out for Harriet, and Nat just gets really weird about it, I think. But even still, she was a good friend in the show. In this, it's just wild. Already we've had 2 instances where it's almost like irredeemable situations, I think. One difference already is that in the show, Harriet was in the textiles class, and that's why she was at a fashion show at the beginning with Nat. In the book, she took woodshop so that she wouldn't have to go on this trip, but then she has to go because something happened with one of Nat's other friends, and then Nat reveals that the reason the other friend couldn't go was because she intentionally sabotaged her, and the reason why she sabotaged this other person was because she really wanted Harriet there because Harriet's her best friend, which is okay. But then the reason that she wanted Harriet there was because they were going to be model scouts, and once she finds them, she runs away. And Harriet's like, "Oh, I thought you wanted me here," and Nat goes, "In spirit." And while I really love young adult novels, I think sometimes you can just see the divide in age with the choices that they make, because it's just, why would you make that choice? What the heck? What is wrong with you? That's not okay. But they're kids, so they don't really know that that's not okay, but we do. So, you know, sabotaging one friend in preference for another, not okay. Abandoning that other friend when you know that they're not comfortable in this situation, also not okay. This isn't first person. I really enjoy the writing style and the characterization that we're getting. I think it's definitely very authentic and organic to Harriet as a character. I think it's definitely establishing that she's different, whether that be because she's a geek or some sort of autistic situation that we may or may not get in this novel. And I just want to say that it is never expressly said in the show, and I don't know about the book, that Harriet is autistic. However, Holly Smale herself is autistic, and I believe she has confirmed that Harriet is autistic, which is why I have mentioned that. Then I think the last thing I want to say, I never even talked about this, but I really want to, is just some expectations that I have for this versus the show. But in the show, we only really follow Harriet through 2 acting gigs, technically 3, but like the third one is just not as extensive of scenes and like as detailed for what's going on. So we really only follow her through 2 modeling jobs, and then we see her at another one. And I'm hoping that we get a little bit more in this. I'm hoping that we definitely see a lot of Nick and that he lives up to his on-screen counterpart. I just hope that her parents aren't quite so harsh, and I hope that it just lives up to the hype that I have for it. So that's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna continue my show that's on and continue reading. Hello! It's a few days later, and I have some thoughts. I'm much further in the book, and I don't remember if I did or didn't say this anymore, but I've been thinking about trying to take notes while reading. So I have notes. I have things to say, and I'm prepared. So let's start with how far I am. I think the last time I spoke to you, I was not very far. I was in the beginning chapters, and I gave a few initial thoughts, and now I'm at chapter 47. My notes start with the TV show, and I'm only mentioning it like a couple of times because I don't want everybody to just think that all I ever do is read books that have adaptations and only talk about the adaptations, because I just came out with the Caster Chronicles first reading vlog. The reason I'm starting with this is because I've noticed the pacing is very different in the book versus the series, and I am posing a rhetorical question on whether or not the series is 2 books per 1 season. It just seems like the plot is going a lot slower in the book than in the show, which is really contradictory because of another point I'll talk about later. Going off of that, the next thing I want to talk about is the modeling. I know I said before I was hoping we would get more in the books, and as far as book 1 is going now, that's not really happening, which I completely understand because we do need the setup to get into the modeling, and that did take a while in the series too. It's just, I don't know, it felt like we just got more, it felt like we got more in the show, but also not enough, at least for me. But as far as the book goes, it has been a really fun, new, and interesting experience thus far. However, a lot of things have just been really vague with the details. We get a lot of interesting specifics on like makeup, outfits, and sets, but not so much on the actual modeling situation itself, which I guess makes sense because what do you do while you, like, how is it supposed to take quite so long? I get it. I feel like it would probably get a little bit boring if you spend so much time talking about getting your picture taken over like 10 pages or something. I just want more of it because right now, as far as this has gone, we have had 1 actual modeling gig, and we are in the midst of getting to the second one, but there's not a lot of pages left. There's not a lot of book left. I'm at 223. And like I said, there's what, 362, so I've only got about 140 pages left. Next, let's talk about our main character, Harriet Manners. I think this is just such an interesting and expressive point of view. I think it's definitely very well balanced between exposition and action. We do get a lot of expository situations, but it's a lot of Harriet just thinking through things and explaining things, and I think it's done in a way that it's not necessarily boring. I don't feel like I'm reading something like for class. And this book is definitely made up of shorter chapters. It makes it feel like everything's just going a lot more quickly, like I can just pound the book so easily. It almost feels similar to reading my favorite author, Ally Carter, who also writes short chapters. Harriet's parents were such an interesting topic in the show, and they're definitely interesting in the book. They almost seem like caricatures of characters, and it's really weird. Her stepmother, Annabelle, is so overbearing and really controlling. She just wants to mold Harriet into her image, which is fine because stepmother, stepdaughter, they're obviously close because her mom died when she was literally days old. It's just a bit much. On the other hand, her dad is just wildly childish and definitely faulty in his parental duties, especially in serious situations like her modeling career. Like, he's always trying to make jokes or something. Like, right now she's about to do a runway and he's trying to get back there to see the Russian models. I mentioned before that I didn't really like Harriet's best friend Nat in the beginning. I'm not very sure how I feel now. I think the show did a decent spin to make her seem more supportive. However, whether or not this will change towards the end, I'm just unsure, so I really don't have any more thoughts or comments to add. I'm a little disappointed that we don't get to see as much of Nick as I thought or as I want. The anticipation is kind of killing me because there's just such a big lead up, but I think it's going to make those moments all the more better. Another character that's new that I don't think I really spoke about before is Wilbur, who is Harriet's agent as well as Nick's, at least in the show. And he is just such a fun, interesting character. He's a great character with whimsy and comedic relief, who also is able to really balance those serious moments whenever needed in a way that still feels organic and real. Overall, I think this book has a lot of nuance, interesting ideas, and diverse characters and themes. I think the series is shaping up to just have the potential to be something really great, especially in relation to me and my reading tastes. So I'm very excited to keep going and to finish it and to just continue with the series and see what happens next with Harriet, Nick, Nat, Wilbur, everybody. I'm having a great time. It has taken me absolutely no time to get as far as I am. Anyway, I think that's all I really wanted to say. I'm happy that I took the time to write out my thoughts beforehand so I could get to everything. Yeah, so I'm going to continue reading, may or may not finish tonight, and I think it's just going to be such a fun, good, whimsical time, and I'm just excited. I'm just having a good time. Hi! If you can hear the air conditioning, I'm sorry. I'll try and fix it, but it's literally right outside my window. Anywho, I am so happy to say that I finished Geek Girl last night. It went by so quickly. I think I've decided that I'm giving this a 5-star. As of right now, that's my decision on Goodreads. If you don't know, I do change my ratings sometimes, especially depending on how the rest of the series goes, which we will get back to. But my last thoughts, I haven't really put anything together to solidify them. I think a lot of what I said at the midpoint check-ins still stands. I wish we got some more modeling. I wish we got more Nick. However, I think a lot of my thoughts when I was going into this book were just overshadowed by the show. I think I had a lot of preconceived notions that just weren't applicable to the book, and that's on me. And I definitely adjusted my thinking and my perspective, I guess, on the book after realizing that this is just not the same story as the show. I think that's something that I struggle with a lot, because adaptations, it should be the same story, it should be the same, you know, it should be the same, but it's not a lot of the time. Like, I feel like The Hunger Games, Divergent, Twilight, they do a really good job of actually being an adaptation and staying really truthful and faithful to the book. But I think a lot of things coming out now are really changing the story. Like, for example, The School for Good and Evil, it's the same story, but it's not the same story. Like, it's the same story in a different font. And I think that's definitely the case here. They definitely leaned more into the romance side of things in the show, but I think at least this first book is really more so about Harriet and her self-discovery, her self-love, a lot of coming of age, and it's a lot less of a romance-centered book and a lot more of a character-driven book. And I loved it. It was so fun. I had such a good time. Like I said, a lot of the things that I said before stand. I love Wilbur. I don't know how I feel about Toby. I don't think I've ever mentioned, but Toby is Harriet's stalker. He's a lot less creepy in the show. In the book, he's on another level. Everything just sort of resolves in a really good, fantastic, organic, healthy way at the end of this book, and I loved it. I was getting skeptical for a little while because I had like 30 pages left and there was still things to happen that, not that I knew from the show, just things I expected to happen in the book, and I was skeptical that it was going to happen, but it did, and it was so lovely. It was so nice to actually have those things just happen. Oh my gosh, it was so good. I was so confused about Nick and his involvement in this first book versus the show, because like I said, the show is just so much more romance driven and the book is a lot more character driven, and then it just came together in the end. It came together in the end, and it was the best thing ever. Oh my gosh, we learned some things. Spoiler, the thing that we learned that was the best part of this entire book for me, I think, was that the whole entire reason Harriet even became a model was because of Nick. Because he liked her. Because he saw her and he liked her. And he was like, ooh, yes. And I was like, I did not see that coming. But it's so cute and it makes so much sense because like so much of her stuff originated from him. Oh my, and it was adorable. It was adorable. We did not get much in the way of autism, so I don't know if that's technically meant to be a spoiler, but I do know that it is commonish knowledge at the very least because the author is autistic and she was writing this series to just have that awareness out there. In relation to this being a series, I think this book is a really good beginner. I think it definitely sets up a lot of the themes, a lot of the challenges that we'll see moving forward, and I think it did a really good job of introducing Harriet as the main character, showing us her characteristics, the challenges she has, her way of thinking, how she overcomes any hurdles, and I really, really like it. That's all I have to say. So, I gave 5 stars, and I'm so excited to continue with the series, which brings me to, I had some packages to open, and I finally opened them because I have this little habit where at the end of a school semester, at least for college, because it is so hard, I have bought myself some books. Sometimes it's like a few, a couple, not a lot. Sometimes it is a ridiculous amount. But this time I decided to do the entire Geek Girl series. The entire series is 6 books long, and they're all about the same size. The books are as follows. Book 1 is Geek Girl. Book 2 is Model Misfit. These are the 2 main versions of how the series covers come, either with the actual person with the glasses or a sort of one color situation still with the glasses. Book 3 is Picture Perfect. Book 4 is All That Glitters. Book 5 is Head Over Heels. And book 6, the last one in the series, is Forever Geek. These are all the books. There are, I think, 2 or 3 seasonal novellas. But with all that said, I think those are my last thoughts on the book. Like I said, overall, I just enjoyed it. I gave it 5 stars. It was definitely character driven, and it was sort of a complicated pace because everything in this book only happens in like less than a week. But there's always things happening. It definitely balances exposition versus action and dialogue really well. There's a lot of character arcs, character development happening, not just with Harriet, but also with the side characters as well, like her parents, her friends, everybody. And it's just a really fun ride and concept, and I would definitely recommend it. With that being said, this is the end of the video. Te aprecio mucho y mi corazón es tuyo para siempre. Adiós!